Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Suzanne Dulin, who's been with us on the Natural Healing Show many times. Suzanne Dulin is a fellow yoga instructor and founder of Get a Bigger Boat. Suzanne Dulin is a business coach for yoga teachers, and you can find out more about Suzanne Dulin and her wonderful work at GABA, GABBA.co.
Just no A, GABB.
GABB.co. Welcome, Suzanne Dulin.
Thank you so much. I love being on your show, Catherine. It's good to see you again.
So what we're talking about today is something really, really important, and that is breathing exercises. So one of my 10 books is called The Little Book of Breathwork. And if you're listening to this broadcast right now, you can send me an email at Catherine@catherinecarrigan.com, and I will send you a free copy of The Little Book of Breathwork. So I'm going to let you, Suzanne Dulin, take it from here.
Thanks so much. Yes, so today we're flipping places and I'm interviewing you. So tell us, Catherine, can you tell us why breathing exercises are so important right now?
All right. So first of all, I just want to point out for our audience, I live my whole life prayerfully. And about 2 years ago, my guidance kept telling me, you need to write a book about breathing. Well, I'm like everybody else. I received guidance from my soul. And like a lot of us, I argued with myself. Who's going to read a book about breathing? Who needs a book about breathing? I published the book, The Little Book of Breathwork, last year. It is one of my 8 Amazon #1 bestsellers out of my 10 books. And here we are, literally a year later, in the biggest pandemic, certainly of our lifetime, and it's a respiratory illness. Now, one of the things that emergency room doctors are noticing is that people are coming to the emergency rooms, they're talking on the phones, and they seem to be okay, but when doctors put oximeters on them, which are little devices that measure people's oxygen levels, that they're incredibly low, and that people don't even realize that their lungs are not getting enough oxygen. So it's one of my goals in life is to lift the planet up. And it's so important that we learn how to breathe. And there's really 3 reasons you want to be learning breath work right now. The first is that researchers are reporting exceptionally high levels of anxiety and depression. And breathing exercises are some of the cheapest free ways that you can deal with anxiety. Secondly, when you or if you do get coronavirus, you want to have breathing exercises to increase the oxygen flow to your lungs. One of the things they're finding is that when people are put on the respirators in the hospital, only about 88% of those people never get off. So if you could learn how to increase the flow of oxygen to your lungs, naturally, you're going to have a better time, an easier time getting through this very painful coronavirus COVID-19 illness. And lastly, when you recover from coronavirus, part of what has to happen to rebuild yourself is you need to rebuild the strength in your lungs, because your lungs pump oxygen throughout your body. So there's really 3 reasons why learning how to breathe properly is more important than we could have ever possibly imagined.
And as a yoga teacher, I just want to say, like, pranayama, breath mastery techniques are really one of the gifts of yoga to the world, to really be able to change our energy states like that. And it's so nice that we have these to return to right now, and rely on when we have this crisis. So tell me a little about how these work to lower anxiety. Of course, you can do the other thing and raise, energy and stuff, but specifically how can breathing exercises lower anxiety, which is the problem that we're dealing with right now?
Right. And I just want to point out also for our audience that Suzanne Dulin and I have co-created an online course that you can find at 8minutes-to-inner-peace.com. And there's a free relaxation toolkit that we're giving away. So if you're listening to this broadcast, email me, Catherine at catherinecarrigan.com, and I'm going to send you the little book of breath work for free. And if you go to 8 Minutes to Inner Peace, you're going to get a free relaxation toolkit. So Suzanne, what's in the free relaxation toolkit?
We have a little, like, one-page list of 8 breathwork exercises that you can do. So it's just on one page. It has succinct, clear instructions for going through 8 different breathwork exercises in a special sequence that you designed. And in fact, we did it the other day together. It was so wonderful. And it's designed to really clear your energy, elevate your energy, and bring calm and relaxation into your body. And in just 8 minutes, that's a great sequence. So the course gives more detail about how to do it, but you can just download this one-page sheet, follow all the exercises, and do it on your own.
Right. So we're talking about how breathing exercises actually work to lower anxiety. So one of the things that happens when you are breathing is your state of mind affects your breathing patterns, and your breathing patterns affect your state of mind. So in a nutshell, if you don't remember anything that I say in this broadcast, except for this, you can tell whether or not you are stressed in any given moment by whether or not you're breathing into your belly. If you're breathing into your upper chest, you're going to be feeling anxious. When you're breathing into your belly, you're accessing the parasympathetic nervous system. So what is the parasympathetic nervous system? So big picture, you have a nervous system, and it's got 2 sides. The sympathetic side, which is the part that responds to stress, and the parasympathetic side that allows you to relax. Now, when we're stuck in the sympathetic nervous system, you're pumping out the stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline make you feel anxious. So if you're breathing into your upper chest, you're stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. And, there's so many, we could talk for hours about what happens physiologically when you're stressed. But if you can bring your breath into your belly, then you access the parasympathetic nervous system and can allow you to relax. Yeah. And the breathing exercises that Suzanne and I have put together for you in 8minutes-to-inner-peace.com, and I'm giving away in my book, the little book of breath work, teach you how to do that.
Yeah, I believe that we are kind of always observing our bodies for these little signals that around our breathing, and they sort of, give us a sign about what our emotional state is. And so if we can lower the breath rate, then it's like it says to us, oh, everything's okay. It's okay. You can calm down a little bit. That's my personal belief about how it works. That unscientific claim there.
Yeah.
So right now we're talking about the COVID-19 virus, and specifically how these breath exercises can support that. Are they using these to help people recover from COVID-19, and what exercises are they using, and how are they helping?
So first of all, within 5 days of someone actually getting COVID-19, your breathing starts to become impaired and people start experiencing respiratory distress. I remember texting back and forth with a lady in Spain. And before she got coronavirus, she was exercising regularly in the gym with a personal trainer. In other words, this was a healthy, strong, fit individual. And she told me that during the time that she had coronavirus, that washing the dishes was like performing CrossFit. So one of the things that happens in coronavirus is you're not getting enough oxygen to your lungs. So by learning the different breathing exercises that I teach at 8minutes-to-innerpeace.com and in the little book of breath work, you're going to allow yourself to literally pump more oxygen into your body. And you really want to learn this now, so that if you or a loved one or anyone in your family gets sick, that you can start doing those breathing exercises. Because there was an article in the New York Times recently by an emergency room physician who said that people were coming into the ER and they didn't even realize how low their oxygen was. So if you start feeling sick, you want to start doing these exercises to start pumping the oxygen.
And are they doing things with people once they're actually have been sick? Because you mentioned that you worked with a woman who had been sick.
Yes.
And so were you teaching her these exercises, and what did she find to be the most beneficial?
Really, all of them. I sent her the little book of breath work, and in this day and age, in this digital age, I simply sent her my book, right?
And they all help. But if we could pick one, what would that one be, the one to help lower anxiety? Like, we have 8 on that downloadable, but so let's just say that that's too much. What do you do?
All right. So we're going back now. We're not talking about COVID. We're talking about anxiety, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if there was one breathing exercise that's going to help the most with anxiety, it's alternate nostril breathing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit first about why this is so important. When a person is stressed, the non-dominant hemisphere of your brain is 75 to 85% shut down. So you have a brain, and just like you're either right-handed or left-handed, you're either right brain dominant or left brain dominant. So I happen to be right brain dominant. When I'm stressed, the left side of my brain shuts down. A lot of people are left brain dominant, and when they're stressed, the right hemisphere shuts down. But I remember years ago when I was teaching about one of my books in Seattle, a person who was depressed, he said, "It's like when I'm stressed, I'm only using half my brain." I said, exactly. And when you're only using half your brain, you're stressed. So alternate nostril breathing, in yoga, we call this Nadi Shodhana, and it's a very simple little exercise. I'll teach it to you all now. So what you do with your left hand is you bring your thumb and the first 2 fingers together. With your right hand, you fold your middle finger and your pointing finger down. You place your right hand in front of your face, you lengthen your spine, you take a deep breath in. Thumb closes the right nostril, exhale left, inhale left, ring finger closes the left, exhale right, and then you continue. Now there's a little acupressure point on the side of your nose, and when you're doing alternate nostril breathing, you're stimulating this acupressure point that goes to the pituitary gland. Now the latest medical research about depression and anxiety shows that depression and anxiety is a dysregulation of the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So by stimulating this acupressure point on the side of your nose, on the corner of your nose, while you're doing alternate nostril breathing, you're literally balancing your pituitary gland, which balances your adrenal glands, which balances your thyroid, and brings your entire endocrine system back into balance. And alternate nostril breathing will turn on both sides of your brain. I just told you all how to do it. If somebody's feeling anxious, I'm going to usually recommend that you do it for at least 2 minutes. And you can usually stop even a severe panic attack with alternate nostril breathing. And alternate nostril breathing is one of the 8 breathing exercises that we teach in 8 minutes to inner peace.
Right, exactly. So if you download that free checklist that we mentioned, or the free one-page guide that we mentioned, the instructions for this one exercise are included on there. A lot of famous people are doing this exercise. I saw Hillary Clinton actually talked about in her last book doing alternate nostril breathing. And I heard that J.K. Rowling recently tweeted that she's been using breath exercises to help recover. Is she recovering from COVID? And I believe she's recovering. Do you know what she is doing what breath was?
She was talking about breathing exercises that helped her recover. Now, if I could only give one breathing exercise to somebody who was diagnosed with coronavirus, the one breathing exercise that I would recommend is that you focus on circular breathing. So what is circular breathing? So let me give you a big picture. Obviously, there's two sides of your breath: an inhale, where you take in oxygen, and an exhale, where you release carbon dioxide. Many times, again, when we're stressed, one side of your breath is longer than the other. So when people are super anxious, they're usually stuck in inhale and not exhaling properly. People with high blood pressure, for example, do not exhale properly. And I've helped countless people lower their blood pressure naturally by teaching them these breathing exercises. I remember one yoga student years ago told me, she said, Catherine, you've helped me then 33 cardiologists and all my years of Sunday school. She had high blood pressure. She weighed about 90 pounds with rocks in her pocket, and no amount of medication could help her. But it was only when she learned how to breathe properly that her blood pressure started normalizing naturally. So going back to the one breathing exercise that I would recommend if you do get coronavirus, or if anyone in your family develops COVID-19, and that is circular breathing. So in circular breathing, what you focus on is finding an equal length between the inhale and exhale. Now, why is that so important? When the inhale and exhale is equally long, then you're balancing the amount of oxygen that comes into your body with the amount of carbon dioxide that gets released. So you're literally rebalancing your body chemistry with how you breathe. The other thing that happens when you do circular breathing is you start feeling happy. Because again, if you're stuck in stress, you're not breathing properly. When people are depressed, sometimes they're stuck in the parasympathetic nervous system, so they're exhaling longer than they're inhaling. So again, with coronavirus, I'm going to really encourage people to focus on their breath. So it could be something as inhaling and counting to 4, noticing the pause at the top of the breath, and then exhaling for a count of 4, and then noticing the pause at the bottom of the breath. But, I also want to talk about how, once you've had coronavirus, because fortunately, a lot of us, when we get the coronavirus, are able to recover. But once you've had this horrible virus, I just talked to somebody who had it for 4 weeks, then part of what you have to do is recover. You have to rebuild the strength of your lungs. You have to rebuild your immune system. So breathing exercises can help you do that. So the diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle inside your chest cavity. And by practicing these breathing exercises, you can literally strengthen the muscles that help you breathe. And by bringing more oxygen throughout your body, you're going to improve your energy, because one of the biggest symptoms that people report when they do have coronavirus is that they're completely exhausted. So it's going to give you more energy while you're recovering and strengthen the muscles that actually help you breathe.
Thank you so much. we've been talking about this book, the Little Book of Breathwork, that you're giving away to people who email you right now, which is just a lovely gift for people right now in this world. Um, I know that when you were teaching alternate nostril breathing, you also had us use a hand mudra, this position of the hand, and you also have those in the book. So can you tell a little bit about why you included mudras in the book and what they are?
Absolutely. So first of all, your acupuncture meridians begin or end in your hands and feet. So by changing the way you hold your hands, you're literally redirecting the flow of energy in the body. And in the Little Book of Breathwork, I'll hold it up right here for our
I
audience.
love that flower on there.
Yes, it's a lotus. I took that photograph of a blue lotus. So when you change the way you hold your hands, you redirect energy. So when we do these breathing exercises, you're literally regulating the flow of energy in your body, and you can supercharge your breathwork practice by adding mudras. So in the Little Book of Breathwork, I teach 12 mudras that I use most commonly, and there's a number of them. You can use them for different purposes. One of the ones that I recommend right now that people learn is called Linga Mudra. And Linga Mudra is a hand mudra that will strengthen your immune system for your lungs. So the lung meridian, if you study acupuncture or acupressure, it begins in your lungs and travels down your arm to your thumb. So when we're activating Linga Mudra, you're activating the lung meridian. So how do you do Linga Mudra? You interlace the fingers of both hands. You bring one thumb up. So right now I'm going to bring my left thumb up. It doesn't really matter which thumb that you have up. And then with the opposite hand, you're going to bring your thumb and pointer finger together in a little O and put it on top of the thumbs, and all the other fingers are interlaced. So Linga Mudra, again, you're going to interlace your fingers. Let's have the left thumb up, and then with the right hand, have the thumb and the pointer finger together. And I'm holding my hands up so that my audience can see. And this is a mudra that's going to balance your lung meridian. So by bringing more chi, more prana, and more energy into the lung meridian, you're going to allow yourself to strengthen your lungs and increase the flow of energy into your overall immune system. And that's just one of the, and Suzanne, I think you turned your audio off.
I said that was really cool. I haven't done that one before. It's kind of a powerful feeling to hold your hands like that.
Yes. So again, you can do the breathing routine that we're teaching at 8minutes-to-innerpeace.com, or that you can learn in the Little Book of Breathwork, and choose the hand mudras that are most applicable for you right now. Another really powerful hand mudra to be using right now is what's called Mushti Mudra. Mushti Mudra allows you to release pent-up emotions. And in order to do Mushti Mudra, what you do is you take your thumb and you bring it between your ring finger and your middle finger of each hand. So on each hand, with Mushti Mudra, your hands are separated, and you're going to bring your right thumb between your ring finger and your middle finger. And with your left hand, you're going to bring your thumb in between your ring finger and your little finger. You're going to just rest your hands in your lap and allow yourself to breathe. Now, one of the things I'm always pointing out to my clients is that emotions are just energy in motion. And we really only get into trouble when these emotions get stuck. So you're a human being. We could almost call you a human feeling. And especially right now, with so much dramatic change in the world and what's going on, with our health, our money, our children, our jobs, there's a lot of change. So we have a lot of feelings right now, and you can breathe through them. So Mushti Mudra allows you to move through this, even if you can't really put your finger or verbalize what's bothering you. But by
Did
breathing,
that. I sort of felt like my delts became like engaged a bit, and that this sort of powerful energy, almost like a shaking energy at the, sort of at my arms. It's like a physical release.
absolutely, because you hold emotions all the way in your body. And I have a personal story about this because I, like everybody else, we're riding the waves of what's happening, right? And I was doing pretty good until about a week ago when the governor of Georgia, and I live in the state of Georgia, he announced that he was reopening the state of Georgia way earlier than any of us anticipated. And he announced, on Tuesday, we're opening the tattoo parlors on Friday. And everyone just went into shock. The mayors were upset. Lots of people really strongly disagreed. Some people agreed. But at any rate, I noticed that I just simply got depressed because I saw this was going to lead to more sickness and more death. And but Saturday morning, I taught yoga and I did the breathing routine that I teach in 8 minutes to inner peace. So I was pretty depressed for about 4 days. And then I did this yoga and breathwork practice. And I could have pinched myself. I'm like, the depression is completely gone. So again, this is natural healing for the mind, natural healing for anxiety and depression. Suzanne Dulin, you and I practiced the breathing exercises the other day when we
My
did
dad.
yoga. What did it feel like for you?
I absolutely love it. Just like you, I think people think like when you become a yoga teacher that you don't experience these problems or that you always go to the things that you and I have been practicing together recently because we're both finding that we need more support. So we started to support each other. And I really, really love doing these. It's a really beautiful combination of breath exercises that takes you through a transformation within a short period of time. And so I love that the sequence includes like elevating techniques as well as releasing techniques, calming techniques. And then at the end, it just feels like, I kind of returned back to an easier state. And that it wasn't that we were manipulating into one particular thing or another. It was just like letting go of a lot of stuff. I really enjoyed it, and it was not overwhelming. It wasn't such a huge transformation that it felt like something I needed to process afterward. It's just more like this little tool to kind of take some of the scattered feeling out and return to a place where I felt more at ease.
Yeah, great observation. Now, when people are recovering from coronavirus, again, practicing the 8 different breathing exercises that we teach in 8 minutes to inner peace is going to definitely strengthen your lungs. But there's 2 exercises in particular that I think are especially helpful when you're recovering from coronavirus. And there are 2, there's bellows breath and breath of fire. So what is bellows breath? So first of all, in a nutshell, you're going to be inhaling and exhaling out of the solar plexus. So again, the diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle, in the chest cavity. And bellows breath, you basically sound like a slow choo-choo train. So I'm going to demonstrate that for our audience. And I could go on. And it's one of the 8 exercises that I teach. But again, it allows you to strengthen that muscle. And so you do bellows breath first, and then you do breath of fire, which is just like bellows breath, only faster. And I tell people when you need to stop and take a breath, stop and take a breath. And so on, right? So Suzanne Dulin, what's your experience, personal experience of bellows breath and breath of fire?
Well, I personally actually was recently taught these at a workshop. I would say recently, probably about 3 years ago, that I took a Kripalu. I mean, I've known the techniques, but we actually did them in conjunction with specifically breath of fire, in conjunction with sustaining yoga postures. And it's a practice that comes out of Tantra yoga, which, a lot of people have misconceptions about that, what that was, but it's just yoga that was practiced during a certain period of time in India. And these were practices designed to help create like a very transformative experiences, replacing some very frightening and scary experiences that they had done in the past, like going and sitting in graveyards all night. And it was just a really an amazing experience. It's something that I try to practice now on my own. But in the amount that it's done within that 8 minutes to inner peace, it's not, it's not taking it to that extreme. Once you learn it though, then you can work with it to do some very transformative things. And I also have asthma, so I like it to help sort of clear and strengthen my lungs.
Right. And, in the 8 minutes to inner peace, and in the little book of breath work that I'm giving away for free, if you just email me at Catherine@CatherineCarrigan.com, I talk about how when I was 30 years old, I was diagnosed with asthma and I had steroid inhalers. I remember how it all came about. I was 30 years old and I would get out of breath walking across a flat parking lot. So I went to a doctor, he diagnosed me with asthma, and he prescribed steroid inhalers. So I would take the inhalers. I really didn't like using them because it made me feel super spacey. So I started going to the gym. Now, no one told me go to the gym. I'm just sort of figured, well, when you have asthma, you have reduced lung capacity, but maybe if I get more fit, that if and when I have an asthma attack, it won't be so bad. But it really wasn't until I started learning and practicing yoga that I learned how to breathe properly. And so many people, if you're listening to this, you may think, well, I've been breathing my whole life. I've gotten by this far. But trust me, if you have asthma or high blood pressure or insomnia or any kind of respiratory distress or anxiety or even depression, you may possibly not be breathing properly.
That's for sure. And all of this is such a great, these 8 minutes to inner peace, which is, you can get that free toolbox at 8minutes-to-innerpeace.com. These are just a great little introduction into it where you can try some things out. And I know, when we were working together on this, we designed it so that people would just have this little taste, this little teaser. They would have the whole sequence that they could do to take them through the process, but also maybe just one or two of these things really help you. I think if you have asthma, then these more forceful breaths are really valuable in helping to strengthen the muscles of the lungs and helping to release some of the sort of the things that are clogging the lungs up a little bit so that you can breathe more freely. Is there anything else that you want to share with us about the work that you're doing right now, or just to remind people where they can get the book and the tools?
Right. So, okay, so I want to teach prana mudra. So this is another mudra that you can do that will help you have more energy. And it's described in the 8 minutes to inner peace. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring your thumb and your first two fingers together, turn the palms up. So one of the things that happens when people get coronavirus is they're extremely fatigued. So by holding the thumb and the first two fingers together and turning the palms up, it's going to actually increase the flow of oxygen to your whole body. Now, let me talk about how this works. This is super cool because, and you can even, if you're listening to this broadcast, you can experiment with this. Release the hand mudra and then just notice where your breath goes in your body. Just take a couple breaths now. Notice what's happening. Now, if you bring your thumb and your first two fingers together, if you bring your thumb and your pointer finger together, what that does energetically, it allows the breath to drop to your ribs. But when you bring the thumb and the first two fingers together, thumb, pointer finger, and middle finger, and extend the other fingers, it allows your breath to drop all the way into your belly. And when you're breathing all the way down fully into your belly, again, you're using your full lung capacity. And when you're using your full lung capacity, you're going to actually notice you have more energy. So these are simple little things that you can use, right, to redirect the flow of energy. Another,
You're so knowledgeable about all of these practices, and I just think it's wonderful that you've put this all together into the book so that one of the things that I love about your writing is that it's very accessible, easy to follow, even though you are so knowledgeable. I know people must be a little, nervous, like, oh, is this going to be some giant tome that's going to list all the breath practices that exist in yoga or something? But your work is so accessible and so supportive and meeting people where they're at. And this is just, I know that you wrote this just for people who had never done it before to find the relief of breath practices. I think it's just really lovely that you've chosen to give it out to people right now, because we really need these tools right now.
well, thank you, Suzanne. And I'm not like Bill Gates. I don't have $100 million to give away, but I do know how to breathe. And breathing exercises have helped me overcome asthma. They've helped me overcome depression and anxiety myself. These are the tools that I turn to when I feel anxious. And, you and I have talked about this before, but the reason that I put this together in a system, if you will, years ago, a young gentleman came to see me. He was an African American. So he had high blood pressure. Okay. And Suzanne, we have 10 minutes to go in the interview, so we're not done yet. So anyway, this gentleman had high blood pressure. He was on 3 different blood pressure medications, but his kidneys had started to fail. So he had to get up at 4 a.m. every day to go to a kidney dialysis center. So his blood pressure was so bad that it was actually damaging his kidneys. And I remember, I do all my work prayerfully. I remember thinking, what can I do for this gentleman? And he was under severe economic distress. He wasn't able to do his work as a barber. Anyway, I taught him the 8 minutes to inner peace. And I thought, well, I need to make this easy for him. So I got a friend of mine to take my iPhone and make videos of me demonstrating the breathing exercises of me in my garden. If you go to my YouTube channel at Catherine Carrigan, you can follow the videos for free. They're also on my website, Unlimited Energy Now, my second website. So at any rate, I taught this to somebody to help them lower their blood pressure naturally. Another hand mudra that I think is going to be especially interesting and helpful for people right now it's called Mantanji Mudra, and it's for accessing peace. So a lot of us are really wrapping our heads around all the extreme changes that we're going through as a global family. And so in order to use this mudra, what you're going to do is you're going to interlace all of your fingers of both hands, and then you're going to have your middle fingers pointed up together like a steeple. And this is a mudra, while you're holding it, you're going to just notice your whole mind body system, just sort of relaxing into a more peaceful state. And in the little book of breathwork, I'm teaching you 8 different breathing exercises, 12 mudras, and then some affirmations that you can use. So they're thoughts that you can repeat to yourself to access a calmer state of mind.
You brought something up that, thank you for showing that. Like, I love all these hand things, and it's like everybody can, everyone who, has hands can do these things. And they're even simpler than the breath work, really, just to place your hand in a position. And this is even something that you could do while you were, in the line at the grocery store or in your car or, just at your home, and start to incorporate as a regular practice. That doesn't really require very much. Almost make it a little habit, just every now and then try this thing, other than, these are nice because they're so accessible, little sort of snackable things that you can do to bring some relief. You mentioned something I wanted to talk about a little bit, this feeling of being on a roller coaster. I've heard a lot of people talking about that feeling. From your point of view, what do you think contributes to that, or what are the things that you believe help with that feeling of kind of imbalance? Like, I was literally just talking to a friend of mine about this, and everyone's talking about it, this feeling of sort of going through waves of panic and then sort of forgetting about it and feeling okay, and then, wow, it comes back again.
Right. Well, one of the things that we know is that our thoughts control our emotions. So I'll use, going back to, the example that I gave, when I heard the news about the governor of Georgia opening everything up again, when we haven't even, started reducing the number of people being sick. So my mind started going into stories, oh my gosh, are more people going to get sick? Are we going to, have even more suffering? And that created our emotions. And, it really ties into what we're teaching here in the little book of breath work, which actually comes from a deep understanding of yoga philosophy. So hang in there with me, and I'm going to give you a longer explanation. So in yoga, we talk about your physical body. You know what that is. And as a medical intuitive, I also use this when I'm doing a medical intuitive reading, because I read your physical body, your energy body, your emotions, your mind, and your soul. So physical body, your bones, your muscles, your organs, you know what that is. Now, right outside the physical body is your energy body. And when we do breath work practices, what it literally does is these breathing exercises literally balance your energy. A good visualization for this, if you can think of like a lake and somebody throws a stone into it and there's all these ripples, but it eventually calms. And these breathing exercises, as Suzanne Dulin was saying when we started, they allow you to return to your natural state. So you have your energy body, then you have your emotions, your mind, and your soul. Your soul controls your mind controls your emotions control your energy, and your energy body controls your physical. So going back to your question about this roller coaster, I think that we are all having thoughts. We have thousands of thoughts every day about what's happening. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family? What does this mean for the planet? What does it mean for people all over the world? And that brings up a lot of emotions. So I think that we need personal practices like breath work that allow you to settle and return to your natural state so that you can think more clearly and make rational decisions about what to do next.
I feel like it's been an anchor for me right now as we've gone through this, to have the tools of yoga and breath work, and I wonder how people are coping with it without these tools, because I think that it would feel like you were just at the mercy of this wave of emotions without any ability to surf that wave or release from it a little bit. It must feel scary.
Absolutely. And lots of people are really, advocating meditation. And you and I are both, serious meditators. I spend hours every day, every morning. That's the first thing I do, is start praying and meditating. However, you can't really meditate if you can't quiet your mind. And breathing exercises are the simplest, most powerful tool that I know about to quiet your mind so that you can access a meditative state. what's your experience of using breathing exercises before meditation, Suzanne Dulin?
Yeah, I really like to use breathing exercises in advance of meditation. I actually use as my regular meditation a technique that my teacher, Eric, you and I both share, Eric Shipman as a teacher. And he has in his book, Counting Backward Technique. That's my regular yoga meditation technique, where you count back from 50 to 49 and go down. And really the effect of it is to lengthen the breathing very gently. And so to me, it is almost like it's the doorway into meditation. These breathing exercises, if you don't have a meditation practice, can help you to access a meditative state in a way that's a little easier because you're focusing on something directive to do. Whereas sometimes with meditation, people actually can make people more anxious within meditation because they start to observe all these thoughts. And when you haven't developed the practice yet, sometimes that can start to make people feel uncomfortable. It's fairly typical for new meditators to feel a little uncomfortable. So I don't think it's the time to take up a meditation practice if you hadn't had it before. I think it's time to start working toward a meditation practice. And I think that these tools, like literally 8 minutes, do a few little breath techniques. It's very directed. It gives your mind something to focus on, at the very least, something new to try. And then you can explore and start to learn some things that might help you. I just think these are simpler. They're effective. They're less likely to bring you into an anxious state. Those are some of my thoughts about it.
Yes, you've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. To get a free copy of the Little Book of Breathwork, just send me an email, Catherine@CatherineCarrigan.com. Our guest today has been Suzanne Dulin, business coach for yoga teacher and founder of Get a Bigger Boat. You can find out more about Suzanne Dulin and her wonderful work at gabb.co. And by all means, head over to 8minutesToInnerPeace.com and download the free relaxation toolkit we're giving away. And remember that this is truly the time to learn how to breathe. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.